Hey guys, Oscar from MST.TV here, and today we're doing an in-depth profile on Shadolls. We're going to be covering two of the main variants for Shadolls, the first being Chaos Shadolls, and the second being Artifact Shadolls. First, we're going to go into the core of the deck, and then I'll explain it later. So for the Shaddoll core, you play 2 to 3 Shaddoll Beast, 2 to 3 Shaddoll Dragon, 1 to 2 Shaddoll Falco, 1 to 2 Shaddoll Squamata, 1 to 2 Hedgehogs, and 3 Mathematicians, which is a very core card of the deck. You have to play 3, and 1 Blackluster Soldier. For spells, you play 2 to 3 Shaddoll Fusion, 2 to 3 L Shaddoll Fusions, 1 Super Poly, a very good card, 1 Allure of Darkness, and 1 Foolish Burial. And for traps, you play 3 Sinister Shadow Games and 1 Shaddoll Core. If you're playing the Chaos version, you play 1 Dark Arm Dragon, 1 Eclipse Wyvern, 2 to 3 White Dragons, 1 to 2 Black Dragons, 2 to 3 Denko Seekas, and 1 Felice. For the Artifact version, you play 3 Artifact Mortal Tech which you never want to draw, 1 to 2 Beagle Techs, 1 to 2 Double Cyclones if you're playing Beagle Tech, 2 to 3 Artifact Ignitions, and of course 3 Artifact Sanctums, which is the best part of the engine. For the extra deck, you play 2 Shaddoll Windas, 2 to 3 Constructs, and 1 Shekinaga. For Synchros, you play 1 Armades, 1 Goyo, and for 7s, you play Arcanite, Black Rose, and Yazi. If you're playing the Artifact version, you can also play Mikhail, and of course Leo. And for XYZs, you can play Exiton Knight, Castel, and if you're playing the Artifact build, you play Volcasaurus, Pallades, Durandal, and if you're playing the Chaos build, you can play a Daigusto Emerald. People don't play Shaddoll Grysta because, number 1, it's weak, so it can't protect itself. Number 2, there's no good fire decks out there, so you can't really super poly it into it. And number 3, everything that Grysta can deal with, Shekinaga or Construct can deal with it just as well. So Shadolls is a very flexible deck that depends on the player. It has a high skill ceiling, a high skill cap, and there are tons of combos with the deck. The deck puts big monsters on the board that are very difficult to punish while gaining a lot of pluses to out-advantage the opponent. The Chaos version focuses more on OTKing and putting more monsters and more damage on the board, and the Artifact version is more control and focuses on controlling the back row and monsters on the board. So for the opening plays of Shadolls, it generally involves the card Mathematician because it sets up the board more. One of the best opening plays you can have involves Mathematician, setting Squamata, setting Falco, and then setting a Sinister Shadow Games. This really develops the board and it helps Shaddoll Falco, which is really a slow card, to be a playable card. Another really good Shaddoll opening play involves playing Shaddoll Fusion with 2 Shaddoll monsters, generally Beast or Falco, to make Winda or Construct, and it'll develop your board and give you pluses, which is a very strong opening play that you want to open into. Shaddoll Tactical play is all about gaining advantage while using your Shaddoll monster effects on both your turn and your opponent's turn. Cards like L Shaddoll Fusion and Sinister Shadow Games really help you use the Shaddoll monsters in your opponent's turn. L Shaddoll Fusion can be used as a defensive and offensive card. You can use L Shaddoll Fusion defensively when your opponent uses a trap card on your fusions and you can fuse them out, or you can use it offensively to create another fusion to create OTKs. Another really good tactical play with Shadolls is to use cards like Shaddoll Fusion and Shaddoll Winda to force your opponent to make really bad plays. For example, Shaddoll Winda is a really good tactical card against decks like Satellar Knights and Burning Abyss, forcing them to only special summon once and try to get rid of Winda really non-optimally. Shaddoll Fusion also punishes XYZs and Synchro plays by letting you fuse from the deck. A really good tactical recovery play, primarily used against Castel, would be Mathematician or Foolish Burial into Squamata, into Core, and fetching a Shaddoll Fusion from your graveyard. This lets you use Shaddoll Fusion to fuse main deck material cards into fusions. Some good hands for Shadolls include opening Shaddoll Fusion with some Shaddoll monsters, which will let you put a big threat on the board, while having cards like Mathematician or Sinister Shadow Games for utility. Some bad hands for Shadolls is just opening all Shaddoll Fusions, or all Shaddoll monsters, which makes the deck really slow, or opening none of your utility cards like Mathematician or Sinister Shadow Games. Cards that can be sided against Shadolls are cards like Vanity's Emptiness, Soul Drain, Monarch Stormforth and Vanity's Fiend or Majesty's Fiend, and of course, Shadowing Prisoning Mirror. Shadowing Prisoning Mirror and Vanity's Fiend will kill you. When you see these cards, make sure you have MST or Regeki or you will lose this game. When you see cards like Vanity's Fiend and Shadowing Prisoning Mirror, go cry in a corner if you don't have Regeki or Mystical Space Typhoon, because they will fuck you up. To play against Shadolls, make sure you play around Shaddoll Fusion, which lets them get free advantage by fusing monsters from their main deck. Do this by making sure your board doesn't have extra deck monsters like Fusions or XYZs. Also try turning on Vanity's Emptiness to prevent them from special summoning. Shadolls rely heavily on their special summoning, so you can punish it with a big monster and Vanity's Emptiness on the board. Also try not to destroy Shaddoll monsters or get their flip effects off, and if you do, make sure you have Soul Drain or Shadow Imprisoner on the board so they don't get their effects. This is the biggest way Shadolls win, is for advantage from their monsters. And finally, make sure Shaddoll Fusions don't get their recovery. Free Shaddoll Fusions, free El Shaddoll Fusions, and free Shaddoll Cores make it really hard to play against. Shadolls don't really plus as much as people think they do. Most of the cards are 1-for-1s outside of Mathematician. Make sure you stop Shaddoll Fusion from fusing from the main board, or stop their fusion cards from getting recovery. The deck changes depending on the variant you really play against, so against Chaos variants, make sure you build a strong board and have a strong back row, and against Artifact variants, make sure you don't touch their back row at all. That's it for this in-depth profile. If you enjoyed this video, give us a like or a subscribe. If you think I missed anything, comment on the section below, and make sure you check out the description for the deck profiles. Until next time.